thank you for joining us today on Beyond the Scale, True Healing. In this fantastic episode, we're talking to the rebel dietitian and author of Dietitian's Dilemma, Michelle Hurn. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us, Michelle.
And speaking about protein, I saw on social media your protein project. So can you tell us a little bit more about it and tell us how people can help you with this project and support this project?
Yeah, thank you so much. I had a moment, I got to speak at Low-Carb USA in San Diego, and I love speaking at those conferences. But after the conference, I had a moment where I thought, like, I don't want to be an echo chamber. And when I say that, I don't want to just be talking to people who necessarily agree with me. I want to reach people. And I also, as much as I love social media, it can be kind of a toxic place. People argue, people go back and forth. And I just thought, you know what I want to do? I want to do something. I feel like my generation and there's so much talk, and politicians talk and talk and talk. And it's like, I want to give back. I want to do some action. And so I thought, like, why not put this together? Why not put it together? So what the protein project is it's basically a pilot. I want to, for 6 months, I want families dealing with food insecurity to, as opposed to getting, emergency food boxes, which, those tend to be like mac and cheese and rice and these, peanut butter. And peanut butter is considered protein, these more processed foods. Why not give them real animal-based foods? We're talking beef, cheese, egg, sausage. And so, I just talked to some farmers in my area and said, hey, if I can get this funded, would you be able to get me this much meat? I'm talking like a couple 100 pounds of meat, like, a month. Everybody was pretty excited about it. And I also want to make sure the farmers are paid. I don't want people to donations are great from farmers, but they're already, it's very hard to work as a regenerative agriculture farmer. So that's kind of how it started, is I thought, like, this could be a really cool idea. And I started to write it up and, do all the financials. And, we made the video that we just recently posted, and I've had so many people reach out to me. It's been such a blessing, but I've also had people just recently reach out and say, hey, I'm hungry. I'm dealing with, is there any way you can help me? And that got me thinking, like, obviously I want to start this, in my community, something that I can really supervise, because, my hypothesis is, if we give people these animal-based foods, every week, we're going to give them some education around the importance of protein, that this will improve their health and the health of their family, But what if I can also, on top of that, what if I can go ahead and just right away, get some protein boxes together and send that to families in need, all over the United States. So it's going to become a 2-part project, the first part being, tracking the health of 5 different families in my area. And then the second part being like, let's go ahead and get some, these good high protein foods out to people in need right away.
Okay, and is there some way that we can support you? Like, do you have a Patreon or?
So the goal is, I'm writing a grant, and that's going to be submitted by the end of this week. We're recording this at the end of September. If it is funded, which I'm obviously very hopeful it will be, then it will become a 501(c), meaning, it'll be tax deductible. I guess I don't know how it is, at least in the United States, it would be tax deductible donation. We'll have a website where people can do donations. There'll certainly be like an email sign up where people can, I'm going to try to even connect people, like, hey, if you want to help someone in your area, connect farmers to other people. So right now we're still kind of in the idea stage, if you're, continuing to follow me on social media. But like I said, yeah, as soon as I am able to get this funded, then I'm going to need lots of help. Then, we'll have a site where people can do donations and can learn all about it. So we're kind of in the early stages right now.
Yeah, it's so important project, and I wish we can help you with all this and help you to develop and to make it bigger. And yeah.
Thank you. I mean, that's the main hope, is like, can I have a model that's recreatable, right? Like, if I'm able to do this in my area, can there be another dietitian in France and in the other parts of the United States that, if they're able, we'll send you, we'll fund you. You can do this in your area, So this is, because it was so disheartening. I went to a food shelter and asked, I said, hey, if I needed an emergency food box, what would you give me? And that's exactly what I posted in the video is what they would have given me. And I asked, I said, where's the protein? Like, I need protein. And the protein's here. It's the peanut butter. It's just like, how do we expect people to heal? How do we expect people to get better, to get out of poverty, to heal their bodies with these processed foods? I mean, I just felt angry, and I feel like it's hard, as somebody who's kind of going against the grain, against the system. Sometimes I feel like I'm fighting this uphill battle, but there is the ripple effect, right? Like, I'm able to change some people, then maybe they're going to turn around and help other people. Because I go back to, when I first started, there was a very few people in the low carb community that were very supportive of me. And, they probably had no idea at that time that their words and their encouragement, like, kept me going and kept me advocating and led to me being able to write a book and to speak and to do other things. So I'm hopeful and I'm grateful. And, I would know food is powerful. I just think we need to get the right foods in front of people.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking about this, are you in relation with other practitioners, dietitian, doctors, nurses that are afraid to speak on the behalf of low carb diet because they don't want to be put apart? Or
yeah, I feel like we're starting to see more people that are more open to it, but those people are outside of the system. Like, if they have their own practice, if they're able to step away. But like, when I was in the hospital, I actually have people who reach out to me at least weekly that are dietitians that say, I don't know what to do. I know you're right. I know that we have the science. We have plenty of clinical trials, especially for type 2 diabetes, that low carbohydrate diets can reverse diabetes, but I'm not allowed to practice it. What do I do? And so, it's hard because I had to stay in the hospital system until I was financially able to leave. So, the system is really not set up to heal people. Because if it was, we can reverse type 2 diabetes in months. Nobody should have type 2 diabetes. But if we did that, then you're going to lose a lot of money with, healthcare and pharmaceuticals and stuff. So yes, I'm not super popular. Unfortunately, most dietitians also believe that you should be able to eat everything in moderation, whether it's sugar or, seed oils or whatever. And I just don't think that's a great idea for most people. Our last statistics are, 93% of our population is metabolically unhealthy, meaning they either have high blood sugar, high blood pressure, they're obese, so this advice isn't working. It's not helping people get better. And I just, I'm just going to continue to preach what I've seen work for myself, what I've seen work for, thousands of people now that I've worked with. And just, if you take the emotion out of it, this is how humans ate throughout evolution. This is what kept us healthy. This is what increased our brain size. It wasn't really until we introduced a lot of the sugars and flours and processed foods that our health really took a nosedive. So, people want to blame all kinds of things on poor health. Oh, it's social media. Oh, it's this and that. It's like, yes, there are a lot of different factors that go into health. You need sun, you need to move, you need to drink water. But in my experience, how you feel your body, it has a huge impact on your physical and mental health.
yeah, this is so true.
Can I just say something real quick, Claire?
Oh, of course. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Michelle, I'm a former nurse. And for those of us, you're a hero to us. Like, we know, right? We know that this isn't right. And it's so amazing to hear from someone who has been there as well, that is stepping out there and, writing a book and really putting the truth out there. It's, it's legendary.
I appreciate that so much. And I have so much respect for nurses, like what you guys do. And I even had, when I worked in the hospital, still nurses come up to me. And, I even would make comments, gosh, that person with type 2 diabetes, that's a lot of carbs. And they were like, yeah, like, it's like you said, like, they know, but you're not empowered to do anything. Like, what are you supposed to do? They're here acutely. And by the time they're in the hospital, they have a laundry list. It's not just type 2 diabetes, it's heart failure, kidney failure, all this stuff. And, what it would take is it would take a team. It would take the dietitian and the doctor and everybody to say, hey, we're going to put you on this low carb diet. We're going to monitor your blood sugar. We're going to monitor your electrolytes. But it's much easier just to say, take this pill, keep eating whatever you want. We'll see you in a month. We'll amputate your leg, like,
Yeah.
So thank you. I appreciate that. And, I'm hopefully there are more people that are coming forward, dietitians, nurses, people that are saying like, hey, we want to see change. We want to see people heal. Because that's why we all went into healthcare, right? We went into this profession because we wanted to help people. I did not go into this to be a cog in the wheel, and just keep pharmaceuticals and big food companies running strong. So thank you. I appreciate your support.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm a bit lost with the question. Ladies, do you have a question for Michelle? Stephanie?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
And this is the question. Do you have a question for Michelle?
Oh, so I just was thinking about when you were talking about the metabolic illness that we have around the world and what part our food plays in that. So with obesity being a major factor and people binging and having food addiction, is it partly due to the addictive nature of a lot of the processed food that we are told is okay to eat in moderation, but also the lack of actual nutrition in that food? So is the obesity epidemic more of a malnutrition epidemic?
That's a great question. And I think it's both, because on two fronts, like we know there are people, there are food scientists that their full-time job is to make foods that are so addicting, they literally override your body's ability to stop eating them. And what I mean by that, like, for example, like Dr. Georgia Ede, pointed out a few studies that some processed foods actually shift the neurotransmitters in your brain. And we know when we eat something really high in sugar, salt, like ice cream or potato chips, you'll actually get like a rise in dopamine, which is like, oh, I feel really good. But at the same time, it can actually shift the neurotransmitter glutamate really high. And we don't want that to happen. When glutamate goes really high, it actually suppresses something called neuroplasticity. And what neuroplasticity does, it's really important for your body to cope with stress, to learn, to change, and to take in new information. So if you're somebody dealing with, stress, who's not stressed, but like addiction, or if you're in treatment and you're taking in processed foods, it stops your body from being able to learn and to change your behavior. So now you have these foods that you're eating that literally are preventing you from, they're going to, and of course on a biophysiological level, they're going to spike your blood sugar and you're going to have that blood sugar crash. So you have a dopamine response saying, oh, this is great. You have a blood sugar crash. It's saying, oh crap, now I need to eat more. And then you have glutamate up too high. So your body's not able to actually figure out what to do. So yes, these ultra processed foods mess with you. I guess in layman's terms, they really mess with your mind. Like it's not a good thing. But they've also, food addiction and sugar addiction is the most universally acceptable addiction. As I'm talking to you guys here, if I pulled out a line of cocaine and started snorting it, everyone would freak out. Like, oh my God, this girl, what's she doing? But you could be in a work meeting and pull out a Snickers bar or a soda and no one would say anything. Like, oh, that's cool, he's fine. We universally accept that it's okay to eat sugar, to give it to our kids, to give it to our elderly, to give it to our psychiatric patients. I did a video that the average serving of sugar that psychiatric patients get a day is 42 teaspoons a day. So yeah, so the ultra processed foods, but then on that same token, so now we have a population that's eating a lot of these ultra processed foods. It's messing with our head. But what are those ultra processed foods replacing? There's a reason that iron is the number one vitamin or mineral deficiency worldwide. Like 50% of kids are deficient in iron. So, that begs the question. Are our kids eating liver and burgers and chicken thighs? Or are they eating cookies and mac and cheese and cereal and SpaghettiOs? So yes, I have seen more people in the hospital setting when I worked in the hospital that were obese and malnourished. And doctor will look at a patient and they'll be like, they can't be malnourished. They're obese. And I'm like, no, this person is not getting nutrition. We have overly fat, but under muscled, under nutrition. So, it's amazing to me that that's not more talked about or more recognized. And that's also something that can be fixed. Like, God, the human body, this is another thing. If I can just leave you with some, positive thoughts, is the human body has a tremendous capacity to heal. Most of us have put our bodies through a lot of damage. I know I have. And your body's ability to heal is greater than anyone has allowed you to believe. Your body can heal, but you also have to provide it with the right building materials. Your body needs B12, it needs zinc, it needs folate, it needs iron, it needs all these cofactors. And in order to do that, you really need to eat foods that have those that your body can absorb. So, once again, kind of going back to that first question, if I could rule the world, people came in with diabetes, people came in with anorexia, people came in with bipolar disorder, the very first thing that should happen is we got to change what you're putting in your body. We have to change what you're eating because your body is so inflamed and your brain is so inflamed.
Yeah.
I was just going to say about with the children, if we have all these corporations in the processed food industry trying to create this like bliss point, right? And their brain is being, bombarded with that from such an early age now. What is their brain going to be searching for in the future, when it's already at this level of just, garbage. It's just
and
terrifying.
The fastest growing obesity demographic for obesity is kids 2 to 5. So, I visited my sister a few months ago. She lives in California, close to Disneyland. And so I was staying in a hotel around Disneyland. And so when I went for a run in the morning, there are lots of families and kids. And this is not a judgment statement. This is just a fact that I've never seen so many obese children in my life. Like, I was like, what is going on? I join with you in the concern that we are just feeding our kids lots of processed food. And this isn't blaming families. This is corporations telling us that, cereal and orange juice is part of this complete breakfast, and McDonald's and fries is a great lunch. And hey, you worked a long day, order a pizza, where when we feed our kids, these more animal-based foods, they're just have such a better shot at having, solid brain health, having a strong body, strong teeth, so.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back what you said about iron deficiency. I don't know how it is in the US, but in France, to deal with iron deficiency, what we do is we don't advertise for kids to eat more meat. We just put iron in the cereals and say that the cereal is full of iron. You want to have iron, just eat the cereals. Come on.
That's a lovely propaganda. I'm actually going to do a post on this because I have, one of my theories is I was severely iron deficient for many years as an athlete. And I was just told like, oh, your body just doesn't absorb iron very well. Or because I still ate meat, I ate probably 3 ounces of meat several times a week. I took iron supplements. I still was iron deficient, but I was eating so much phytic acid. And what is phytic acid? Phytic acid is something that's present in whole grains, brands, oats, nuts, beans. Well, what are most people eating? Breads, bagels, all of these carbohydrates have a lot of phytic acid. Well, phytic acid binds to iron and binds to minerals, and so does fiber. So we have people like, I'm gonna have a salad, I'm gonna have bagels and all this stuff. You're eating all this phytic acid, even putting it in cereal is so stupid because cereals are carbs, grains, and it's gonna bind to it, And so by really removing a lot of that phytic acid, and most articles, scholarly articles that I've written have made a point of saying like, you don't have to completely eliminate, these things. But if you do, you need to make sure you're eating a lot of these other minerals. And once again, in our society, we don't eat a lot of bioavailable iron. Like we're not eating a lot of livers, beefs, and organs and things. So yeah, our solutions are ridiculous. Like adding it to a processed food as opposed to just eating a food that actually has it. It's almost like thinking we can outsmart God or outsmart nature or whatever you believe in. So.
Yeah. And I'm sure that when you eat the minerals and the vitamins where they're from, you assimilate so much more easily because your brain
significantly.
Your brain is able to identify it. You look at your piece of meat and you know that you will have iron and protein and everything. So yeah, your brain is just saying, okay, you're gonna receive this, so just take it. And Yeah.
Yes. And that's one thing I think we've made a mistake of, the supplement industry is a $1 zillion industry. And we said, oh, you're deficient in this, take this pill, take this pill. And obviously there are certain situations or places where you might need to take supplements. But in general, like getting like iron from like liver or meat per se, like if you eat meat, it's not just the fact that like, oh, this food has iron, I'm going to absorb the iron. It's this food has iron and it also has all those other little cofactors in it that I need to absorb it perfectly. It's in that perfect ratio because that's what humans were designed. That's how we evolved eating, a lot of meat and fat. So, that's something I think a lot of people overlook when they're just like, oh, I'm just going to take this supplement. It's like, well, it doesn't have all those other cofactors that your body needs to absorb it. So you might not even absorb, you might not absorb it all, or you might absorb a very small bit of it.
Please.
We were able to cover a lot in today's meeting with our guest, Michelle. Michelle, thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing your knowledge and your experiences with us. We will have all of Michelle's information linked below so you can buy her book, The Dietitian's Dilemma. You can also work directly with her on your health goals and find her on social media with those links. Please take a minute to like, share, comment, click subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. And don't forget, you can join us live or for live meetings and other special guests when you subscribe to Heart Carnivore on the Mighty Networks for just $10 a month. The link to join, along with the links for all of the ways that you can connect with us, are also listed below. Thanks. Bye.